Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast here. They are talking about Serbia. Okay? Quick clip. They talk about Serbia a little bit. There's a big protest going on. Joe Rogan doesn't bring up the tinfoil that has to do with the Serbian protests. Do you know about the tinfoil? Put on your tinfoil Speedo right now. I'm going to play this clip quickly, then we're going to get straight to the tinfoil, okay? I'm not even gonna bother with the protest. What happened in the protest? That's what we got to focus on. Let's get into this.
And they have statues of this dude.
Statues everywhere, dude. I got obsessed with it because I was like, I can't believe you guys we consider that a terrorist in our country.
Oh my god!
And this one guy gave me a.
That's so crazy.
They gave me a.
Look at that writing. How cool is that writing? Go back to that. Look at the fucking writing at the bottom. Look how cool that is.
Gavrilo Princip.
Can you read that?
Yeah, it's
really.
I think it's Russian. It's acrylic or whatever it is, Cyrillic.
You can read that?
Yeah.
For real? You can read Russian?
Yeah. I never told you the time I went to Russia.
You did, but I didn't know you could learn. I didn't know you learned how to read it. I thought it was really hard to read.
I just met this DJ, very big DJ, DJ Zed. If I played you any of his songs, you've heard every one of them, right?
Okay.
And we met him I was with Santino. We were at a tennis tournament, and I said, "Wait, where's your accent from?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm Russian." I said, "Где?" And he goes, "Ты говоришь по-русски язык?" I was like, "Конечно." And we started talking in Russian back and forth.
How long did it take you to learn that?
As long as I was there. I got pretty good towards the end.
How long were you there for?
Like a month and a half, 3 months.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
2 months,
Do you have
maybe?
a hidden skill?
No,
a hidden ability to learn languages?
No, I know. I can speak Spanish. I just told you the same Uber drivers picked me up 6 times in this town. He doesn't speak English.
How'd you learn how to speak Spanish?
I just grown up in Florida.
Really?
Yeah.
You might have a secret language ability.
No. Anyone that just
that's
heard me
pretty
talk in
extraordinary.
Russian just knows that I barely can. I don't even sound good.
Yeah, but you could. I took Italian in college. I can't fucking speak Italian.
Yeah.
I took Spanish in high school. I can't speak Spanish.
No. I can understand Russian a lot better than I can speak it.
Yeah, you might have a hidden ability to learn languages.
And I can understand Spanish a lot better than I can speak it. But I was just in Spain. I was just in Spain a week ago. And apparently my Spanish, it sounds like, me need ice. Me ice.
At least you could say something.
Yeah.
You can communicate. Something's popping off in Serbia right now. Like one of the largest protests ever is happening in Serbia right now.
For real?
300,000+ people in the streets.
So it's a complicated country. And I love Serbia. I
don't know what's going on. I have no idea what this protest is about. I just saw it in the news feed, popped up. Record-sized protest in Serbia.
Deaths over 15 people dying in a railway station collapse.
So what are they?
It's hundreds of thousands of people descended on Serbia's capital to protest over the deaths. Well, I'm not sure.
Huh. So was it like some corruption or something? Like some shitty construction? Like what happened?
We just want a country that works, law student says.
Wow. So hundreds of thousands of people in the streets because a rail station collapsed?
That's what it says on BBC. I'm looking to see if it makes more insight.
They don't take any shit over there.
Dude.
Figure it out.
We'll
get in the street.
It's fascinating. Listen, I understand if you're Serbian and you're listening, you may disagree with what I'm about to say. I'm just going to say it. They hate Albanians.
Oh, no.
And they make Albanian jokes like crazy, right?
Really?
So one day we're on the set, and I said one of the guys, I go, "Hey, man, I'm not like a woke dude. It's just a funny joke. But what if there's an Albanian here that heard that and hurt their feelings?" And he goes, "Oh, he'd know to be smart enough to keep his fucking mouth shut." And I went, "All right, never mind. The only Albanian they like is Dua Lipa. They love Dua Lipa. They do. I know I'm generalizing, and I know there's Serbians that are like, we don't hate them all, but they all know how to play basketball. They're all tough as fuck. Every dude's a fucking man. You don't meet one dude that you don't think is a cage fighter.
Bro, these war-torn countries are not playing games.
Bro.
They breed different humans. And that's when those guys come over to the UFC, they're different humans.
They had a, and now mind you, I got to guess the Serbians that I was hanging out with, and one of them was my driver. But they had a chant for their president, when their president, they would chant out the other guy, and it was like, he's Vinici, he's Vinici.
Jesus Christ.
Such a fucking, I don't know, man. There's something really interesting about that freedom that they had there, that they just talked openly. And they'd take a cigarette break, and the girls would sit down and cuddle up next to a dude that they weren't dating. They just touchy like that. They don't have there's no intimacy counselor on set. They were just, I remember watching one of the girls sit and have a cigarette with one of the dudes, and they were just cuddling against the wall. And I was like, "Are they dating?" And they're like, "No, they're just friends." Look at that. That's Serbian basketball, baby.
Bro, that's war. That's war. How long before these guys take over basketball?
Oh, buddy.
Half.
Give him another year.
They kind of have.
They're taking over MMA. They're taking over boxing.
Luka Doncic and Jokic.
Dude,
and
they
Did you see?
They're taking over sonic weapons. They're taking over these Serbian people, man. Check this out. Let's get right to it. Enough of that surface level stuff. This was the actual protest. It was wild. How do you not pull up a picture as Joe Rogan's talking about the protest? How do you not show a picture? You know why? Because Jamie searches things quick. He probably saw that there was a little something, and he's like, I'm not even going to tell him about this. But if Joe was like, hey, Kamala Harris, she actually did XYZ, Jamie would be like, actually, I found it here that she didn't actually do that, and that's fake, and here's the fact check, and it says false here. Anyway, let's get into it. I should replace Jamie. Let everybody know. If Jamie ever wants to retire, let me know. And believe you me, if Jamie ever retires and I get to be the guy who replaces him, oh, we're going back to regular JRE. I'm letting it fly, baby. No fact checking. No fact checking. That's it. All right, let's get into it. Obviously, this is not the whole population, right? I think there's about 6 million people, and 800,000 of them were protesting. It was huge. It was crazy. This is enough to cause a massive disturbance. This is, we can't control this. And it's Serbia. Not even with their army could they control this. I mean, unless they wanted the, lethal force or whatever, but they didn't want to do that. So this is a big disruption. Here's what happened. Okay. I'm going to show you another picture so you understand the scope of all this. This was gigantic. You just saw one clip at night. This is during the day. They were out there. They were not going home. It's just, it goes all the way back. I mean, we're going all the way back. The streets are filled. They're filled. It's wild. You ever think of that when it comes to a population? So many of us, like right now, I'm inside. There's a bunch of people outside. But if we all just came outside at the same time, what would that look like? It'd be insane. Cities aren't really built for that. Like sidewalks ain't built for 350 million people. It's not enough sidewalk throughout the United States, man. All right, now let's get to the meat of this situation. Now I'll show you this view first, okay? Here's the view, okay? They're just silent. They're chilling. Moment of silence. Then this happens.
Polako ljudi, polako bre ljudi, polako bre, polako bre.
It's pretty crazy, right?
Šta делаешь?
What happened? You hear that little buzzing?
Šta делаешь?
Well, what happened, right? Let me show you another view. Okay? Massive protest. Remember that. Okay? Show you this view now. Parted like the Red Sea. You see that? Wow. Just stampeding. Okay? Let me show you another view. Right? Here. Look at that. Everyone just parted out of nowhere. Everyone. All down that whole strip that I just showed you in the bigger video. Everyone just right away. Everybody's screaming. Nobody knows quite what happened. Here, let me show you another view.
Did Serbia use illegal sonic weapons during a peaceful protest? Here's what we know. Over the weekend, more than 100,000 people took to the streets of Belgrade to peacefully protest against the government's populist leader, President Aleksandar Vučić. Some estimates suggest the crowd was as large as 275,000 to 325,000, making it one of the largest student-led protests in Serbia since demonstrations began in November 2024. Since the protest, footage has circulated showing people suddenly dispersing from the crowd, leading many to believe security forces may have used military-grade sonic weapons to suppress demonstrators. In the video, protesters are seen standing still for 15 minutes in silence to honor those who died in a railway incident before abruptly moving, causing a stampede. Human rights organizations and opposition groups in Serbia allege that officials used illegal sonic weapons during the protest. They have announced plans to file charges with the European Court of Human Rights, as well as domestic courts. The demonstration is part of a broader anti-corruption movement sparked by a train station canopy collapse in November that killed 15 people. Many blame the government for the incident, citing negligence in construction safety regulations. Protesters are demanding accountability. Sonic weapons are known to cause sharp ear pain, dizziness, and distress. Prolonged exposure can lead to permanent hearing damage. For now, Serbian officials have denied using such weapons against demonstrators.
Now, I won't say that they did or they didn't. I don't know. Of course, I don't know. But how else do you get a crowd like that under control? You have to use some kind of means that would give you the upper hand, because for the forces, the police, even their version of the National Guard, for them to step in and say, "Hey, clear it out, guys," that's not going to work. These people had strict demands. They wanted some accountability. Right? Things were getting, that's just a flare, so it wasn't any damage, but people get riled up after they're together for a long time, especially when they're not seeing results. So did they actually use something like that? Again, I do not know, but I do know this. This is not, and it's so nice to hear that there's actual official groups that are filing, they're suing in the European Court of Human Rights and domestic courts as well. Because that type of thing does exist. You talk about that years ago, people would be like, "Oh my gosh, tinfoil this and tinfoil that." But that really does exist. People really do have access to things like this. It's existed for a very, 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 very long time. I would say at least 20 years it's existed. I'm pretty sure there's a video on YouTube that's at least 15, maybe 12 years old. And there's even someone from Fox, a young Peter Ducey. Yeah, there's a young Peter Ducey. I remember that. Yeah, young Peter Ducey was actually he actually used it, and he said like it feels there's like intense heat. Okay, there's one that makes you feel intense heat, and there's also another one that gives you the dizziness and distress and everything like that. But these type of things do exist. So my question to you is, do you think that is what happened? Again, how do you make a crowd that big just disperse like that? Everybody's running every which way, and all the people there have decided we have to get the European Court of Human Rights involved. They all know something happened. They weren't just running. And let me just say this also, just to not be too out there. There's probably some people running just because they see people running. You're in a protest. You see a bunch of people running. You're going to be like, "Oh, okay, there's something going on. I got to move out of the way. I don't want to have to feel the thing that's coming for me to know to move out of the way." I'm seeing 50, 60, 70,000 people all moving out of the way. I'll move out of the way too. But again, those things do exist. You let me know in the comments what you think happened. I'm out.